Hello friends, welcome to Insight Learners. So in this video we shall discuss the Capgemini data structure based questions, and there will be 10 questions. So the first round will be the pseudocode based test in which there will be 30 questions. You need to answer it in 30 minutes. So then there will be pseudocode based questions like find the output for the code, which can have a C snippets or C++ snippet code, and also some OOPS questions. And next thing is there will be data structure based questions. So you can expect the data structure questions from stacks, queues, arrays, linked list, and then hashing as well as graphs. So these are the important topics from the data structure. And moreover, they will ask you the time complexities. So they will give the snippet code and they will ask you to find the time complexity for the code, or they may ask you directly like what is the time complexity for binary search tree, so like such. So we shall see some time complexity. So for the time complexities, if there are constants in the code, so the time complexity of that will be big O of n. Next thing is logarithmic function. So if there is any log function logarithmic, then the time complexity will be big O of log n. And for linear, it is big O of n. And for quadratic, it is big O of n square or n raised to 2. And for cubic, it is big O of n raised to 3. So you can call this as time complexities, or you can call it as the asymptotic notations for asymptotic equations. Then the polynomial, it is n to the order of 1. And for exponential, it is n to the order of n. So remember these term complexities. So next thing is the binary tree. So the binary tree, it is one of the important concept in data structure, and the questions will be appearing from binary tree also. So then just remember these three formulas, or you make it as a note. So the first thing is the minimum number of nodes that can have in a full binary tree of height h. So like suppose they may give the example and tell like there are minimum number of, so a tree has number of nodes and height is given, and you need to find what is the minimum number of nodes that can have in a full binary tree. So suppose if the number of nodes is given and the height is given, so you need to find the minimum number of nodes in a full binary tree. So if such question is asked, you are going to apply this formula. So the formula that is to find the minimum number of nodes for a full binary tree, it is equal to 2 into h minus 1. So 2 into height minus 1. This is the equation, or this is the formula to calculate the minimum number of nodes in a full binary tree. So next thing is the perfect binary tree. So you can call a binary tree as a perfect if all the nodes have exactly 2 children until you reach the leaf nodes. So if a tree has exactly 2 children and which will reach the leaf node, then you can call it as a perfect binary tree. And next thing is for each level I, then they are going to say like the binary tree has 3 levels and find the number of nodes. So if a tree, or if a binary tree has each level is considered as I, then there are 2 raised to I nodes. So if they tell you to calculate the number of nodes for each level, then the formula for this will be 2 raised to I nodes. So with the help of 2 raised to, then I, if I is given, that is number of levels, suppose I is 4, then you are going to make it as 2 raised to 4. So which will be equal to 16 nodes. So then these are the important concepts of the binary tree. So for to calculate minimum number of nodes or a perfect binary tree, or if a level is given, then you need to find the number of nodes. The formula is 2 raised to I. So now with this we shall quickly see the MCQ questions of data structure part in Capgemini. So the first question is the advantages of a linked list representation of the binary trees over the arrays. So then they have given 4 options and they are asking like what are the advantages of linked list representation of the binary trees over the arrays. So dynamic size. So if there is a data, so data structure is of dynamic size. Then second option is of insertion or deletion. Third option is in randomly accessing a node. So ease of randomly accessing node, then after that both dynamic size and ease of insertion or deletion. So advantages of linked list over the arrays. So here data structure, all the data structure will have the dynamic size, then ease of insertion or deletion. So you can insert or delete the elements into the data structure, and then randomly accessing a node. So you can also access the elements from the array also, but they are asking what is the advantages of linked list over the binary trees of the arrays. So the last option is the both dynamic size as well as the ease of insertion or deletion. So in case of arrays have static size, whereas the linked list, it is a data structure which has dynamic size. So this is an advantage of the linked list over the arrays, you can say. So the option D is the correct answer for this question. So the answer is option D, both the dynamic size as well as the ease of insertion, where you can insert or delete the elements into the linked list. So this is an advantage of the linked list over the arrays. So next thing is the second question. So the following lines, so these are the questions that was asked in Capgemini in the Jan 2021. So these are the questions asked in Jan 2021 in the Capgemini, that is virtual drive. So we shall quickly see the second question. The following lines, they talk about the deleting a node in a binary tree. So it will talk about, so the following lines, this represents, that is deleting a node in a binary tree, and the tree property must not be violated after the deletion. So here the second option is empty. So first thing is from root. So the first thing is from the root. From root you need to search for the node to be deleted. So then after that, so this should come at the, so here first is given, then second as well as the third. So here what must be the statement and fill up the, what must be the statement 2, and you need to fill up the statement 3. So you need to complete the statement 3 and then you need to fill the statement. Here 2 is blank, you need to fill it. So the following lines is about deleting a node in a binary tree. So that is from root you need to search for the node to be deleted. So initially from the root node you are going to search for the node to be deleted, then second is blank, then delete the node add. So from the 4 option you need to fill this. So what must be the statement 2 and fill up the statement 3. So option A is that you need to find the random node. You cannot find the random node, you need to traverse each and every node to delete. So then this option A will not be correct. So for find the random node, replace the node to be deleted, then delete the node. So you cannot choose the random node. So option B is find the node to be deleted, and then after that you are going to delete the node at the found location. So next thing is third option is find the deepest node, replace with the node to be deleted, then delete the node. And the fourth option is you need to find the deepest node, replace with the node to be deleted, and delete the node at the deepest node. So here in option C you can see already delete the node at is given. Again you cannot say delete the node at delete a node, it is not the correct way. So here also delete the node at the found location. So option B is also not correct. So in option 4 you can say find the root, then search for the node to be deleted, then after that in option, so in the second line find the deepest node, then you are going to replace with the node to be deleted, then you need to delete the node at the deepest node. So this gives the proper sentence. First you are going to, from the root you are going to search for the node to be deleted, then after that find the deepest node and replace the node to be deleted, then you need to delete the node at the deepest node. So you can say the option. So for the second question, that is the option D is the correct answer for this question. That is you need to find the deepest node, replace with the node to be deleted, and then delete the node at the deepest node. So that is option D is the correct answer for the second question. So option D is the correct answer. So next thing is the third question. So the third question, that is the level. So level order traversal of a tree is formed with the help of, there are 4 options. One is the breadth first search, then depth first search, then Dijkstra's algorithm as well as Prim's algorithm. So the level order traversal of a tree is formed with the help of, so the level order traversal means you can say breadth first search is the correct answer for this question. So depth first search will go for the depth search, and here they are told each level. So level order traversal, it is formed with the help of the breadth first search is the correct answer for this question. That is the option A. It will check for each level and perform the breadth first search. So option A is the correct answer for this question, which is breadth first search. So the next thing is the fourth question. So what do the first and the last nodes of a XOR linked list contain? So let the address of the first and the last be A and the B. So let the address be A as well as B. And what do the first and the last nodes of the XOR linked list contain? So option A is null XOR A and B XOR null. Option B is null and null. So it cannot contain null and null. They have mentioned that it contains an address A and B. So next thing is option C is A and B. So it cannot contain A and B because if you have not inserted the elements into the list, they have just told that there is an address in the first and the last node, that is A and B, and you have not inserted any value, then initially it will store the null. So null will come. So in option D, null XOR A and B. So here see, A and B cannot come, then only null and null will not come because they have mentioned that it contains an address A and B, and option D is null XOR A and B. So for this also it should be for the first and the last node, it should have a null. So you can say from the option A, that is null XOR A, this is for the first node, and B XOR null, so this is for the last node. So null XOR A and B XOR null is the correct answer for this question. That is the option A is the correct answer for this question. So next thing is the fifth question. So the fifth question is that you need to consider an array A. So you will get the questions from array also. Array, trees, graphs, linked list, stacks and queues. So you need to know the implementation of a stacks. So simple implementation like how to push the element into the stack, then pop the element into the stack. So there will be code snippet on the stack and there will be error in the code, and they are going to ask you find the error in the line. So you need to know the implementation of a stack, how to push the element into the stack and how to delete the element from the stack. You need to know that, know the implementation of the code, so that if the code snippet for the stack is given, you can easily find the error in the line, or they are going to ask you to replace that line with the correct option. So you just prepare with the implementation of stacks, queues as well as linked list. So the general operations for the stack, like to push the element into the stack, pop the element, similarly for queue as well as linked list. So we shall see the fifth question. Consider an array A which is having elements, that is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12, and the key is equal to 10. So they have told the key is equal to 10. Then you need to find how many comparisons are done to find the key element in the array using the binary search. So here there is an array A and the key element is given to be 10. So you need to search for the 10. So key is equal to 10, and how many comparisons are done to find the key element in the array using the binary search. So using the binary search, you need to find the number of comparisons, how many comparison is done. So the first thing is the binary search, it only applies for the sorted as well as the ordered list. So first thing is you need to remember is that when you are performing the binary search, the binary search it applies only for the sorted and ordered list. Okay, for sorted and ordered list. So next thing is that we know that the binary search, it takes log n base 2 time to search for a particular element. So binary search tree it takes the log n base 2. It takes log n base 2 time. So this is the time complexity for the binary search. So binary search tree, it takes log n base 2 time to search for a particular element. So to search for a particular element, the binary search algorithm, it takes log n base 2 time. And then next thing is, if there are n elements in a set, then you need to choose the binary search, then you need to consider the log n base 2 times. So here there are n elements and which are stored in the form of an array. So we shall quickly see how to find the comparison for this. So the first step is that first you need to check how many elements are there in the array. So if an element in your array, if it is greater than 1, then you are going to go for the next step. So the first thing is, first you need to check. So first step is first check for the number of elements. So first check for the number of elements in the array. So you need to check for the number of elements in the array. So first check for the number of elements in the array, and then if an element in the array, if it is greater than 1, so if the element in the array is greater than 1, so if it is greater than 1, then go for the next step. So then go for the next step. For the next step, so the first step is what you are going to do is that the binary search, it applies for only sorted and ordered list, and it takes log n base 2 time to search for a particular element. And then steps to find the comparison is that first you need to check the number of elements that are present in an array. So if the element, if it is greater than 1, then you are going to go for the next step. So then go for the next step. So then after that, so we shall see the next step. The next step is that the binary search, it divides the problem into two parts. So binary search divides the problem into parts. So two parts using the two parts. That is how is that it will find the total number of an element using the sorted mean. That is big O of n plus 2. So that is it will find the total number of an element with the sorted mean. So total number of elements. So first we need to find the total number of elements. The total number of elements is calculated as sorted mean. So is calculated as sorted mean. So which is equal to, it is calculated as the big O plus n divided by 2. So mean means that is all the elements divided by 2. So that is total number of elements, it is calculated as a sorted mean, which is big O plus n divided by 2. So then the next thing is, the third step is that you need to compare the searching element which is either greater than the mean or the lesser than or equal to the mean. Then you need to compare each part. So which depends on the result, and if the searching is done, then the mean is equal to the searching of the element. So here the problem, it is divided into two parts, that is n divided by 2, and then it goes until searching is done. So each time it searches for an array, it will divide it into two parts, that is n divided by 2, and then it compares each element. So so first you need to compare the searching element which is either greater the mean or lesser, or it is equal to the mean. So what you need to do in the third step is that you need to compare the searching element. So compare the searching element which is either greater than the mean, which is either greater the mean or lesser or equal to the mean. So it should be either greater than, lesser, or if it is equal to the mean. Then after that what you need to do is, so here the problem, you need to divide it into two parts. So for searching you need to divide the problem into two parts, that is into n by 2, and then you need to go to search until. So until an element is found, you keep on searching the element. So here after that what you need to do is, here as we said, like you're going to divide the problem into two parts, that is n divided by 2. So what you need to do is, the problem is divided, that is the array is divided into two parts, and it is compared with a key element. So here the problem is divided. So the problem is divided into n divided by 2. So it is divided into n divided by 2 and searches until it finds, and searches until the element is found. So until the element is found, it keeps on searching. So then after that, so next thing is, you can say So initially what was the problem? So then coming to the question, so array is 1 2 4 5 6 11 12. So there are 4 5 6 7 elements in the array and the key is equal to the 10. So then after that, how many comparisons can be done to find the key? So then we shall see the recursive. So now we shall write the steps for this, how to find this. So that is T of n. So T of n, it is equal to the T of, that is you need to divide the problem into, that is steps. So you need to divide the problem into two parts, that is n divided by 2, then plus 1 is to solve a problem. So plus 1, then after that what you need to do is, so n divided by 2 raised to k, n divided by 2 raised to k is equal to 1. Then you need to take the log on both the sides. So this is a recursive method to solve the problem. So this we wrote in simple steps, and next we are applying the recursive method to solve the problem. So recursive method solve the problem. So next step is you need to take the log on both sides. So take log on both the sides. So take log on both the sides. So if you take the log on both the sides, it will be log n. So it will be log n is equal to log of 2 raised to k. So here it is. So we have considered T of n is equal to, that is you are going to divide each problem into two parts. So n divided by 2 plus 1. Then after that n divided by 2 for k is a key element. So raised to k is equal to 1. So here you have told, so it will be log base 2 time to search for a particular element. So n divided by 2 raised to k equal to 1. Then taking log on both the sides, so log n is equal to log of, so 2 raised to k. So log of 2 raised to k. Then after that, so you're going to say log n keeping as it is, which is equal to log 2 raised to k. So log 2 raised to k is written as k log 2. So it is written as k log 2. So next step is, what is k? So you need to find the k, because you need to find, so what are the number of comparisons. So k is equal to then log n. So here we need k, so this will be log n to the base 2. So it will be log n base 2. So log n base 2. So then log n base 2, so what will be the value of n? So n will be equal to 7. So then after that, k is equal to log 7. So k is equal to log 7 base 2. K is equal to log 7 base 2. So which will be equal to, so k is equal to log 7 base 2. So by calculating log 7 base 2 is equal to 3. So you can say the number of comparisons that is needed is 3. So totally there are 7 elements. So we have considered the value of n as 7. There are 7 elements in an array. So n will be 7. So k is equal to log 7 base 2. So n is 7. So log 7 base 2. So log 7 to the base 2 will be equal to 3. So you can say the number of comparisons that is needed to find the key element using binary search is equal to, you can say it as 3 comparisons. So here this should be 10, because you are going to find the element 10 in an array. So here they have told what is the key is equal to 10. So you need to find the element 10 in an array. So you can say the number of comparison that is needed to find is 3. So option D is the correct answer for this question. So option A is 5, option B is 1, option C is 2, option D is 3. So answer for this question is D, that is 3. So next one is the 6th question. So the 6th question is, for which of the following applications hashing is used? So hashing is also one of the important topic in the data structure. For which of the following applications hashing is used? Whether it is used to construct a message authentication code, for time stamping, then for detecting a cycle in a graph. So the main application of hashing is that constructing a message detection code and time stamping for the real-time applications for hashing. So but they have told you to choose any one of the options, so you can choose either to construct a message. So the main application is to construct a message authentication code, then it for real-time applications it uses a time stamping. So you can write the answer, that is, if in the option if they have told 1 and 2 is correct, or either 1 is correct, 2 is correct, you can choose any one of that. You can say 1 or 2 is correct. So the option, so 1 or 2. So here they have given in the option. So choose the correct answer from the options given below. So they have given in the question like choose the correct answer from the options given below. So only 1 and 3, only 2 and 3, only 1, as well as only 1 and 2. So as we said, the application of hashing, it is used to construct a message authentication code for time stamping. So you can say only 1 and 2 is the correct answer for this question. That is option D is the correct answer for the sixth question. So next thing is the seventh question. What is the second part of a node in a linked list that contains the address of the next node called? So the second part of a node in a linked list that contains the address of the next node, what is it called? Whether it is called a data, pointer, element, or link. So there is no pointer or element. You cannot say pointer or element in case of a node or a linked list. So remaining is data as well as link. So data will also not come. You can say link. So the link is the correct answer for the question. The field of each node which contains the address of the next node, it is called the link. So here the field of the field of each node that contains the address. So the field of each node that contains the address of next node is called link. So is called a link. So you can say the option D is the correct answer for the seventh question. That is option D, link is the correct answer. The next thing is the eighth question, which is on depth first search. So if you are using a depth first search for traversing an unweighted graph, then which of the following will happen? So first one is whether it produces the minimum spanning tree. Second thing is whether it produces the all pair shortest path tree. So here you need to consider the answer from the options that are given below, whether both 1 and 2 are true, whether both 1 and 2 are false, or only 2 is true, or only 1 is true. So in case of depth first search, you can say whenever you consider an algorithm that is depth first search, it is used for traversing an unweighted graph. So it produces a minimum spanning tree, so not a shortest path tree. So if so here the second thing is it produces all pair shortest path tree. For providing a shortest path tree, you can use a Dijkstra's algorithm, but here it is a tree. They have told if you are using a depth first search for traversing an unweighted graph, so it produces a minimum spanning tree. So you can say only one option is correct. So the depth first search for traversing an unweighted graph, it will produce a minimum spanning tree. And if they have asked you for weighted graph, so here in the question they have mentioned that, so that is DFS, which is nothing but depth first search, and particularly they have mentioned for traversing unweighted graph. So for traversing unweighted graph, so if you are traversing for an unweighted graph, then what it will produce is that it produces a minimum spanning tree. So it produces a minimum spanning tree. So next thing is if we are using the same DFS for traversing a weighted graph. So if you are traversing weighted graph, then it produces the all pair shortest path. So then it produces all pair shortest path. So it produces all pair shortest path. So they may ask you in the question, so be careful, like depth first search, if it is used for traversing an unwanted graph, then it produces a minimum spanning tree. So then it produces minimum spanning tree. And next thing is if a depth first search, if it is used for traversing a weighted graph, then it produces the shortest pair. So it produces all pair shortest path. So here it is unweighted graph. You can say from the option that is only 1 is true, which produces the minimum spanning tree. So the answer for this question is only 1 is true. So only 1 is true. You can say the option D is the correct answer for the 8th question. So next one is, we shall quickly see the 9th question. So with the given information provided out the address of ARR of 17 in an one-dimensional array, ARR of 30. So here lower bound is 1 and the starting base address is 1100 and the size of each element is given as 2. So they have given the lower bound, they have given the size of each element and they have given you the starting base address. So what you need to find is, so you need to find an array. So ARR of 17. So what is the address for ARR of 17 in an one-dimensional array? So we need to start from ARR of 1. So first we need to find the address of that. And they have told the size of each element is 2. So 2 means it is having 2 bytes. So they have told that it is having 2 bytes. So first start with this. So we need to find the address of, in this question we need to find address of ARR of 17. So ARR of 17. So provided out of address ARR of 17 in a one-dimensional array. So then first start with this. So starting address. So what is the starting address? So starting address is given. So the starting address, it is given as 1100. So starting address is 1100 is the starting address. And next thing is first start with the ARR of 1 and reach till ARR of 17. So ARR of 1 initially it is 1100 and they have mentioned that it is 2 bytes. So they have told the size of the element is 2 bytes. So then ARR of 2 is that you need to add for the next element, so which will be 1002. Similarly you are going to do for ARR of 3. So ARR of 3 again, which is of 2 bytes. So they have told each element is of 2 bytes. So each element is of 2 bytes. So 1102. So again 1104. So which is again 2 bytes. So for the next address you are going to add 2. Similarly you are going to do for ARR of 4. So ARR of 4 again add 2, it will be 1006. So it will be 1006 again, which is of size is 2 bytes. So then again for ARR of, so again array of fifth element, so you need to do it till the 17. So again it will be 1008 again, which is of 2 bytes. The next thing is again ARR of 6, which is of 1010. So which is of 1000. So it is of 1010. Then again it is of 2 bytes. So again next thing is array of 7. So again array of 7. So which is again 2 is added. So again 2 is added, it will be 1000. So it will be 12. So again which is of 2 bytes. Which is of 2 bytes. So we shall do it this for till 17. So this is for 7, then for 8, then for 9, then for 10, again 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So then here it is 8 1. So array of 8, which will be 14. Then after that array of 9, array of 10, then array of 11. So array of 11, then after that it will be array of 12, then array of 13, then array of 14, 15, and lastly 16 as well as 17. So 16, then finally the 17. So here it is 1 4, then after that it will be 1 6, because you are adding 2 bytes, then it will be 1 8. So then after that it will be 20. The next one will be 22. So next one will be 24. So next is 26. The next thing is 28. Then 30 as well as 32. So 30 as well as 32. So 30 as well as 32. So from the option you can say 1132 is the correct answer for this question. So they have asked what is the ARR of 1. So ARR of 1, ARR of 17. So ARR of 17, it is equal to 1132 is the address. So you can say from the option, that is option A, 1132 is the correct answer for this question. So the answer is option A, which is 1132. So next one is the 10th question. So the 10th question is, what is the output for the pseudocode? There is an integer array which is having an element 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Then we have an integer a. We have an integer a, s, and initially you are going to set s is equal to 0. Then next set a is equal to arr of 1 plus arr of 2. Then you are going to print a. So initially we shall write what is an array. So the array is it is having an element 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So this is an array. So array is having an element 10, 20, 30, 40 as well as 50, and there are two variables, that is a and b. So a and s are the two variables which is declared. So the s is initialized to 0. So initially s is initialized to 0. And next thing is that on the next line you are adding the first index value, that is 20, arr of 1. So arr of 1 is, so arr of 0 is 10, arr of 1 is 20, then arr of 2 is 30, arr of 4 is 40, and arr of 5 is 50. So you are adding the arr of 1, which is 20 plus 30. So you are adding 20 plus 30, so it will be 50. So you can say it will print 50 as the output. So what is the arr of one element? So arr of one element is 20 and arr of two element is 30. So you are adding both, so it will be 20 plus 30, which is equal to 50. So the 50 is printed in the print A. So at print A, so this value is stored in the A. So A will be 50. Now when it will tell you to print A, you are going to print the result as 50. So the answer for this code snippet is option C, which is nothing but 50 is the correct answer for this question. So then after that we shall quickly see the 11th question. So the 11th question is that what is called for the binary tree nodes with no successor. So whether you will call it as the end nodes, so it is called for the binary tree nodes with no successors. So what is called is end nodes, whether it is called a terminal nodes, last nodes as well as final nodes. So successor is means which does not have the children node or a child node. Then what you call that as? So what you call those nodes as? Whether you will call the end nodes or last nodes, final nodes or terminal nodes. So here you will call the terminal nodes is the correct answer for this question. That is option B is the correct answer, which is nothing but the terminal nodes. So a binary tree with the no child nodes or successor node, we call it as the terminal node. So next one is the 12th question, which is called as the index element of an array's index. So which is called as the highest element. So which is called as the highest element of an array's index, whether it is called upper bound or lower bound. So range and extraction, these are out of that question because they do not, it is range and extraction will not come in this array index or highest element. So option is whether it is called upper bound or lower bound. So you can say, as the name indicates, highest element of an array's index, you can call the option A is the correct answer. Upper bound is always the highest element of an array index. So lowest, you can say it's an so lowest element means lower bound, but here they are told highest element, it is called as upper bound. So next one is the 13th question, which of the following data types represents many-to-many relations. So there are various data types, or you can call it as the data structures, so which represents many-to-many relationships. Option A is both plex as well as graph, and B is graph, C is plex, and D is tree. So when it comes to many-to-many relations, graph is one of the example for that. And second thing is, you will check, so don't go and mark as graph. So in the option A, they have marked it as both plex and graph. So plex is also a linked list of n-sized array. So what is a plex is that? So plex is a linked list of n-sized array. So of n-sized array. So then you can say, if you are representing many-to-many relationships, you can say the option A is the correct answer for this question, that is both plex and the graph. So a many-to-many relationship occurs while multiple records in a table are associated with multiple records in the another table. So here you can say Multiple records. So many to many relation is nothing but multiple records in a table which are associated with multiple records in another table. So this is possible with the plex. So you can say both plex and graph is the correct answer for this question. So answer is option A is the correct answer for this question. So next one is the 14th question. Each node of a graph is represented as a dash. So the option A is vertex, option B is root. So the root is, it is only called, so the parent node is itself called the root node. You cannot call each node as a root node. The next thing is the path. So path, and the option D is edge. So they have told each node of the graph is represented as a. So every node cannot be the root node in a tree, and it cannot be a path, or it cannot be an edge. So you can say, because path as well as edge, they show the directions of the graph. So remaining is vertex. So the vertex is the node of the graph. So the node of each node of a graph, it can be represented as a vertex, because you cannot say the each node in a tree as a root node, and the path and the edge, they represent the directions of the graph. So you can say the remaining option is vertex is the correct answer for this question. So the vertex, option A is the correct answer for this question, which is vertex. So next thing is the 15th question. So the question is on recursion. So the recursion uses more memory space and iteration. Which of the following is or are the valid reason for the same? So first one is it uses stack instead of a queue. Second thing is every recursion call has to be stored, and these are the two. One is it uses stack instead of a queue. Second thing is every recursion call has to be stored. So choose the correct answer for the options given below. Option A is only one, option B is both 1 and 2, and neither 1 nor 2, and last option is only 2. So recursive functions, they use the stack. So recursion function use the stack as a memory space technique. So recursion, so you need to remember that stacks are also used for recursion. So recursive functions, recursive functions use stack as the memory space technique. So as the memory space technique, and also as the, and it is pointed out the call, and it is used to store the return values. So you can say it uses stack instead of a queue, because when it comes to the recursion, so recursive function, it uses the stack as a memory space technique, and which stores the return values and stores return values. So for this you can say that only the option 1 is the correct answer for this question. So the answer is only 1, that is A is the correct answer for the question. So the 16th question, to which of the following domain problem does the knapsack problem belong? So which of these problems, so there are 4 problems that is in the options they are given. So to which of these problem does the knapsack problem belong? So whether it is for NP complete, second thing is sorting, third one is optimization. So knapsack problem is not used for sorting or linear solution. So NP complete, it is also not relevant to this question. You can say remaining option is optimization. So knapsack algorithm, it is used to find the maximum profit out of the least weight combination. So you can say it belongs to the optimization domain. So what is the knapsack problem? So this is also important. So knapsack problem, knapsack problem is used to find the maximum. So to find the maximum profit out of least weight. So out of least weight combination. So out of least weight combination. So combination, therefore it belongs to the optimization domain. So this is the question they have asked, which domain it belongs to. You can say it is used to find the maximum profit out of the least weight combination. So the answer for this question is, that is the option C is the correct answer for this question, which is optimization. So then the next one is the 17th question. So in case of 17th question, they have told the concatenation of the two lists can be performed big O of one time. So the concatenation of the two lists can be performed big O of one time. So next thing is, which of the following implementation of the list should be used? So in order to perform the concatenation of a two list, which of these implementation is used? Whether you are going to use the singly linked list, whether you are going to use the doubly linked list, or whether you are going to use the circular linked list, and the last one is the array implementation of the linked list. So here they have told the concatenation of the two list can be performed with a big O of one time, and which list is used. So you can say that circular linked list is the correct answer for this question, that is option C, because they have mentioned the big O of one time, and when you concatenate two lists, it should give so it is performed at big O of one time. So you can say the circular linked list can be used to perform this. So option C is the correct answer for this question. The next one is the 18th question. So in case of 18th question, what does the following function return if Q contains the address of the first element? So here Q contains the address of the first element, initially int C, that is count equal to 0, while Q is not equal to null, that is while the first address, if it is not equal to null, so Q is equal to Q which points to the next. So link is nothing but which points to the next element. So again you are going to increment the count. So now you will increment the count, C becomes 1. Again it checks whether address is not equal to null. So again condition becomes true. Again Q is equal to Q which points to the next element of. So link is nothing but which points to the next element. So it keeps on pointing, and finally it will return the C is nothing but we have considered count. So which will print the number of elements in a linked list. So whether the value of the last node, it doesn't print only the value of last node of the linked list, because it traverses each linked list, and it will print the number of elements in a linked list. So you can say from this option, that is the option D is the correct answer for this question, which will print the number of elements in a linked list. So next one is the 19th question. So 19th question is that can a tree stored in an array using either one of in order or post order or pre-order traversal? So pre-order traversals be again reformed. So can a tree which is stored in an array using in order or post order or pre-order traversals can be reformed? So option is S, just traverses through the array and form the tree. And next option is that no, we need one more traversal to form a tree. So no in case of sparse trees, or yes by using both in order and array elements. So here they are told if a tree is sorted in an array with either in order, pre-order, post order, whether it can be reformed. So no, you need to have one more traversal to form a tree. So that is option B is the correct answer for this question. You need one more traversal to form a tree. So you cannot just traverse through the array and form a tree. You need one more traversal to form a tree. So next one is the 20th question. So you need to consider an array. So initially consider an array of float, and you need to calculate the difference between the address of the first and the fourth element, assuming the float occupies 4 bytes memory. So here you need to find the difference between the address of the first and the fourth element. So initially we shall consider the address of the first element. So first we shall consider the address of the elements. So consider the address of first element. So first element will be 1000. So we shall consider the address of the first element as 1000. So the first element, it is considered as 1000. So next thing is it is of 4 bytes. 1000, 1001, 1002, 1003. So minus 1003. So which is of 4 bytes. So they have told the floating point, it is of 4 bytes. Similarly, the next one is the second element. So again second element will be, next element will be 1004. So 1004 minus, so what it will be 1007. 4 5 6 7. So 1007 again, which is of 4 bytes. So again next one is the third element, next one is the fourth element. You need to find the difference between the first and the fourth. So you need to find the difference between the first till the fourth element. So then the next one is the third element. So third element, so in case of third element, it will be 1008 minus, so 1008, 9, 10, 11, so 1011. So So 1011, which will again take the 4 bytes as it is mentioned, which will take the size as 4 bytes. So next one is the fourth element. So it is the fourth element. So the fourth element again it will start from 1012. So 1012 minus 12, 13, 14. So which will be 15. So 1015. So which will take the 4 bytes. So 1008, 9, 10, 11. So 12, 13, 14, 15, which will take the 4 bytes. So next you need to find the difference between the address of the first and the fourth element. So difference between the address of the first and the fourth element, that is 1012 minus 1000. So they have told you to calculate the difference between the first and the fourth element. So difference between the first and the fourth element, so which is calculated as 1012 minus 1000, which will give you the answer as 12. So the 12 is the correct answer for the question. So you can say the answer for this question is option C is the correct answer, that is 12 is the correct answer for this question. So the next one is the 21st question. So the 21st question is find the output for the code. So you need to find the output for the code, integer value comma n. Initially you are going to set the value is equal to 1 and n is equal to 45. Then while value if it is less than equal to n, so if the value is less than equal to n, then what you are going to do is value is equal to, so here it is left shift by 1. So value is left shifted by 1, and next thing is you are going to end the loop. So first thing is what you need to do is, here we have used a left shift operation. So there are, instead of converting the element to the binary and then doing it is lengthy process. So instead of that we have a direct formula for calculating the left shift as well as right shift. So for left shift, so we shall see the formula to calculate the left shift. So for the left shift you can easily do it using, so suppose if n is an element which is given, so n is equal to n into, so that is 2 raised to, so 2 raised to d, like how many times the shift has to be performed. So 2 raised to d, this is for the left shift. Similarly for the right shift, you need to perform is n is equal to, here for left shift you have multiplied, for right shift you are going to divide it. So divide by 2 raised to d. So 2 raised to d is nothing but it is the number of bits to be shifted. So here value they have already given, so n is 45 and value is equal to value, that is left shift, so it should be n left shift by 1, that is 45 left shift by 1. So that is 45 into, so you are going to do 45 in 2 powers is 64. So it will be, the answer for this question will be 64. So you are going to perform 2 raised to 1. So 2 raised to 1, because you are going to left shift by 1. So it is left shift. So it will be, so initially 2 raised to 0, which will give you 1, 2 raised to 1, which is 2. So this will happen until it is greater than 45, and here the value is 45. So 45 in 2 powers is nothing but 64. So you can say initially we are performing left shift, which is nothing but 45 into, it will be 2 raised to d. D is nothing but you are going to perform one time, so it will be 45 into 2. So it will be, you are going to perform 45 into 2. So it will be, so 45 into 2, which will be 90. So it will be 90 because you are performing the left shift. So you are performing the left shift, so this is left shift, and if it is at the right hand side it will be right shift. So here you are performing left shift and you need to, value is equal to value left shift by 1. So you need to do the value left shift by 1 itself. So here you can say, so this should be n left shift by 1, not value. So 45 it should be left shifted by 1. So 45 into 2 raised to 1. So 2 raised to 1 it is nothing but 2. So 45 into 2 you are going to do. So 45 into 2, which will be 90. So here there is no 90 in the option. You can say the answer for this question is option D is the correct answer. That is 90 is the correct answer for this question. So then you are going to print the value. So value is, so n is 45, which is left shifted by 1 bit, and it will print the value which is nothing but 90. So next one is the 22, the last question. So find the output for the code if x is equal to 4. So x is 4 and y is equal to 5. So integer function int x comma int y. So whether x is greater than 1, 4 is greater than 1 condition is true, then function of x minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. Then y plus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. Y plus 2, that is 5 plus 2, it will be 7. So for the function it is calling 2 comma 7. So 2 comma 7. So next x will be 2, y will be 7. So x is 2, y will be 7. So whether 2 is greater than 1, so condition is true. So 2 is greater than y. So 2 is greater than 1, condition is true. Again it will go here. So again, so first thing is you need to, so first here you can say x is greater than 1. So x is 4, 4 is greater than 1, condition is true. So it will go for the function of x minus 2 and y plus 2. First you need to reverse the recursion function. So first you are going to reverse the recursion end if print y and function of function. So first what you need to do is you need to reverse the recursion function and which will print 9, and then it will return the previous function call. So then next it prints 7. So next it prints 7 and returns a very first function call, and which prints 5 and completes the execution. So we shall see how it prints is that first you need to reverse the function. So initially integer function of int x comma int y. So x is 4, 4 is greater than 1. So here you can say 4 minus 2 is 2 and y plus 2 is 7. So next thing is again it will call for the function. So whether 2 is greater than 1. So condition it is true. So 2 minus 2 will be 0. Again y plus 2 it will be 9. So it will print 0, 9 in the next iteration. So next one is again you will check for here. So again you will check for here. So what it will do is that, so you will check x will be 0. Whether 0 is greater than 1, condition becomes false. It will end if and then print y. So what is the value of y? Y is 9. So it prints 9. So it prints 9. So it prints 9. So and then again you need to do, again x will be 4, y will be 5. So again you are going to trace. So just with the help of a first iteration only you can easily find. So it is printing 9. So from the option you can say first option is 4, 5, 6, second option is 7, 6, 5, and third one is 9, 7, 5. So again try. Go with the function. So x is 0 and y is 9. It will end. So print y. So again it will start for the next iteration. Again x will be 0, y is 5. So you can say it will print 9, 7, 5 itself. From the option itself you can easily find it will print 9, 7 as well as 5 as the correct answer for this question. So with the help of a first iteration you can easily guess the answer is 9, 7 as well as 5. So in the first iteration it will print 9, and after that again it returns to the function. So again it returns to the function, and in the next iteration it prints 7. So and then again in the first iteration it prints 5. So it will be 9, 7, 5. So 9, 7, 5 is the correct answer for this question. That is option C is the correct answer for this question. So in this video we have discussed around 22 important questions of data structures based questions of Capgemini. So in the next video we shall discuss the game based questions. So thank you friends for watching, and do subscribe our channel for more updates.